Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, part of the Bet Rivers Network. As we get ready for a football Friday for week number 16. Down the stretch we come as we approach the Christmas holiday. We head towards the new year. We head towards the end of the season. And it is very clear now, very clear that it is going to be a very different year in the National Football League as far as the playoffs go. Uh, it was quite symbolic, literally and figuratively, as we watched Mahomes carry down the runway as the season came to a close and the Chiefs' incredible run came to an end last weekend. Mahomes, as you know, heads a long list of players who have suffered ACL injuries this year. He's already had his surgery. And the fact that he's already made statements about being ready to play next year in week one, that is exactly what I touched on last week. Why it is going to be so hard for the two central figures, the two iconic figures who were part of the Chiefs dynasty, Andy Reid and Mahomes, how it is going to be so hard for them to ever get ready to prepare for another championship game. And it's going to be fascinating to watch. I don't think Coach Reid is going anywhere. Obviously, Mahomes is going nowhere. He has many years left. But does that mean he'll ever be in the middle of a run or even part of another playoff run or a championship run or a Super Bowl? It is anything but a given. As a matter of fact, it's difficult because just what I mentioned, the fact that he's already starting about week one is going to be the motivation that Reid and Mahomes bring to this. Hey, line up the next guy, line up the next guy, line up the next guy, draft the next player, make the next trade, and then put him out there and let's go. That is not the way for them to get back to a championship level. The smart way to do that would be to break it down, take some medicine, have a bad year, let them live through a bad season, quite possibly even two. Much easier said than done. Very hard to get those kind of competitors to do that. They don't want to do it. They believe they can take a team that might look like a 500 team and transform it and lift it. Maybe they can, but the odds are against them if they take that approach. And it'll be interesting to see what approach they take, the longer run or the quick fix. Almost invariably, these kinds of figures go the quick fix, and it doesn't leave them in good stead. As a matter of fact, the most logical way or the best percentage that Mahomes would have to ever play or start another Super Bowl would be if he parted ways with Andy Reid and went to a different team, which is highly, highly, highly unlikely. That will, that would be reached, that would be met with such negativity. I don't think it will happen. We've talked about the injuries, teams that have overcome them, like the Niners, who are headed to the playoffs, like the Chargers, who are headed to the playoffs, despite enormous injuries that left them devastated. Both coaching staffs deserve an incredible amount of credit for what they've done this year. And if you look at it right now, as we get ready for week 16, you have 7 teams in the AFC with Indy on the outside with 4 straight losses looking in. You have the Rams and obviously Seattle still very much at the top. 1, 2, and then Green Bay in the 7th slot and Detroit on the outside looking in at 8 and 6, needing help. The most logical way for the Lions to make the playoffs is to have them win their last 3 games, which will be Pittsburgh, followed by Minnesota, and then the Bears. Have the Lions win their last 3. Have the Packers this coming Saturday night. Remember, the NFL is back on Saturday this week with a pair of nationally televised games. Eagles in Washington, Packers and Bears, an enormous primetime game. If the Packers will be without Parsons, another ACL victim, if they beat the Bears, then all the Lions will have to do, not all, but what they will have to do is beat the Bears the last week of the season to make the playoffs. Of course, that includes them beating Minnesota in week 17. So right now, you have Detroit on the outside looking in. You have the Ravens on the outside looking in. You have the Chiefs already gone. You have the Colts, who were 8 and 2 and looked like they were headed to a big season. Obviously suffering serious injuries, losing their quarterback, and now trying this Monday night to see if they can break that 4-game losing streak against the Niners, who at 10-4 are headed to the postseason. So that's where we are right now. The injuries, big factor, an enormous factor. You can forget Goodell's dream, which has been that 18th game. He has wanted that. He thought he could get it. Considering the rash of injuries and how many injuries have taken place, I don't think there's any way you can get the players to agree to play that 18th game, even over 20 weeks with 2 byes put in. I don't think they can get it another game added to the schedule. I don't think it will happen. Even if they sweeten the pot, I don't think it will happen. Now, remember 2 things as far as television goes this week. You have Saturday games. Remember, the NFL does not get into the Saturday business until after the Army-Navy game. It's been that way. There are laws against it. Now, the last 3 weeks, they play on Saturday. This weekend, we also have the college football playoff first round games, 4 of them. So you have those for your viewing pleasure. You're not going to get much pleasure out of the bowls, because if you find a decent bowl matchup, I guarantee you, by the time you look at it, most of the key guys are not playing. So, I mean, the bowls have been, as we know them, virtually destroyed. I mean, there's no other word for it. Virtually destroyed. Now, 2 things looking ahead. Looking ahead to the final week, there's Baltimore at Pitt. There's Carolina at Tampa, which they play twice in the next 3 weeks, including this week. There's Colts and Texans, and there's Lions and Bears. Those are going to be your big games. The Christmas games, as the NFL has moved in a very haughty fashion on the NBA on Christmas Day and elbowed them out of the position. But 2 of the 3 games they have this year are terrible because of the fact that the teams are gone already. The Cowboys no longer in it. The Chiefs no longer in it. So it takes away a lot of the steam from those games. Now, sign up for the free Mike Francesa newsletter. You get exclusive content, contest offers. Go to MikeFrancesAPodcast.com and sign up. Remember, it's absolutely free. Players who place a qualifying same game parlay of at least $10 on NFL or NCAA football games will receive an entry into the weekly Squares game. Winning Squares can earn up to $50 bonus bets per entry. See the Bet Rivers app or website for full details. All right, here we go. Saturday games. And there are a lot of matchups among the playoff contenders in the last 3 weeks of the season. And this is the latest in a long time that we have not had a division wrapped up. So you don't have a team this year, running off and just dominating the way some have in recent years, like Kansas City has on a couple of occasions. Eagles got the big win, the shutout against the Raiders last week, as we expected. They'll get another win this week against Washington. They're going to the playoffs. That's a difference. They were not going to collapse because the schedule wasn't going to let them. That will be game number one. I'll tell you, Washington is playing hard. Mariota is a dangerous quarterback. He's a good number 2 quarterback. That team has got a lot of injuries, but they're playing very hard, and you can tell that their coach is challenging them to finish the season strong, and he wants to see who does, as he expects next year to be a contending year again, like last year was. I mean, they went to the NFC title game last year, and obviously they have been decimated by injuries all season. They throw this year out. They want to finish strong, and they are finishing strong despite all the injuries that they have. Packers. The Packers were a couple of minutes away from a win against the Broncos and maybe the number 1 seed. And instead, they lose that game. They lose Parsons for the season. And now they get the Bears in Chicago needing to hang on. Now, the Packers are going to hang on to a playoff spot. I believe that. I don't think they're going to collapse. And I think they will be the 7th team. But I don't know if they're going to win this week in Chicago. They could, but I don't know if they're going to. They finish up Ravens at Minnesota. Bears finish up this Packer game, then at the Niners, then the Lions. Nobody has a tougher schedule in the last 3 weeks than the Bears. Nobody. Bears could be anything from the 1 seed to the division champion to out of the playoffs. It's going to be a very eventful 3 weeks for them. The Bills with an incredible comeback from 21-0 down, from 24-7 down to the Pats. The first game, the Pats had blown it home with a 17-point lead since 1978, 120 games ago. So a devastating loss for New England, an enormous win for the Bills. This week they get the Browns in Cleveland. The Browns are better at home because their defense shows up, but not going to be able to handle the Bills. I would be very surprised. The Chargers are 10-4. They go in to take on Dallas. Listen, Dallas showed very good improvement during the season. They made a run at this. They fall short. Let's see how much pride they have these last couple of weeks. They're very dangerous at home offensively. They get the Chargers here. This is not a game the Chargers have to have. It's an NFC game. If they were going to drop a game, they could drop this. I'm not saying they will, but if they did, it wouldn't kill them. The Jets and the Saints, this is about that bottom feeder group and draft picks. This week, Glenn dumps the defensive coordinator. Not a good look for him. Not a good look for his coaching future. And to me, it's just another signal in it. Well, it has been a bad first year for Glenn as the head coach. Saints, they have ruined Carolina's season with beating them twice. They have 4 wins, twice against Carolina. Beating them last week on a controversial penalty that set up obviously the winner. Um, they have found their quarterback. We talked about it at draft day last year. I kept telling you that I keep hearing that the Giants like Shuck, and they did. They were like Dartmoor, which we didn't know, which I didn't know. And that's where they went. Saints picked up Shuck, and they feel like they have their quarterback. Now, Jets clearly are going to be in the market for a quarterback, looking to draft a quarterback, looking to trade up maybe to get a quarterback. They have obviously the resources to do that. Let's see how that all plays out for them. The Vikings trying to finish on the right step, trying to prove that McCarthy's the guy. Okay. Get the Giants, who are so beat up defensively and just so demoralized defensively that I did think they were going to win a couple of games here down the stretch. I'm not sure now they are, to be honest with you, because of the fact that not that Dart's not going to be in there, trying. He is, but their defense is just an abomination. Um, Bengals, Dolphins. Dolphins are benching Tua. Viewers. Um, I don't know if that's a coaching move or a ownership move. I don't know. They got run over last week, but let's be honest, their defense got run over last week by the Steelers. I didn't see the Dolphins going in and beating Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. They could beat the Bengals in this spot, or Burrow could explode. We'll see. Hey, my understanding, despite all the noise that's come out of Cincinnati, is that Burrow's going nowhere. Bucs and Panthers, they have both thrown away opportunities with both hands. The Bucs have been beat up all year. Obviously, their head coach was furious with them blowing the game as they did. The Panthers, if they don't make the playoffs, are going to look back on two horrible, horrible losses to the Saints as the reasons why. These teams are both 7-7. One's going home, one's going to win the division. They play twice in the last 3 weeks, this week and the last week of the season. So this week, number one, then to be continued. Jags, 10-4, doing everything, not getting the credit. Lawrence not getting the credit. The first-year head coach not getting the credit. You know what? This team has had a terrific season so far. They get the Broncos. Broncos, as you've heard Sean say, we have 3 goals. Win the division. That one's already in good shape. Finish with the number 1 seed, and then get to the Super Bowl. They are in the process of trying to do the second at 12-2. Jaguars are going to the postseason unless they collapse and lose all 3 games. I think this will be a tough, hard-fought, rugged game, close game. But I think Denver will find a way to win it. Steelers, 8-6. They close at Cleveland and then home against the Ravens. That Raven game, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers lose this week to the Lions. If you beat the Lions in this game, I'd be very impressed. Lions desperately need it. They close Steelers, Minnesota, Chicago, and they need to beat the Bears, win out, and get a little help. I thought Rodgers was the best I've seen him all year last week in running the offense, in being sharp, in being accurate, playing the position the way quarterbacks are supposed to play the position. I just think the Lions have too much firepower at home. They ran into a buzzsaw. They played great in the first half against the Rams, and the Rams, who were better as halftime adjustments than any team in the league, came out and blew their doors off in the second half. Why? Because the Rams, I think, are the best team in the league right now. Um, Interesting game. I don't think the Steelers will win. I thought the Steelers would beat Miami for sure. I'd be very surprised if the Lions lost this game. Falcons finally discovered their tight end. Everyone waited for that Pitts explosion. It finally happened last week as he put forth, one for the ages with the 3 touchdowns and everything. Cards, going to be a massive, massive house cleaning. This is the tight end game right now. You want to watch the 2 tight ends. That's basically it. Raiders are the worst team in the league right now. I've told you that week in and week out. They get the Texans, who are red hot. The team that can't score, Raiders, gets the team that doesn't give up any points, Texans. I mean, this looks like 30-0 to me, and I don't know why the Texans would call off the dogs. They're red hot. They're on fire. They keep winning. They're 9-5. They're headed straight north. Raiders are headed straight south. I think the Raiders are going to wind up with the number 1 pick because I don't think they're going to win any games the rest of the way, and I think they're going to get their doors blown off by the Texans. Sunday night, Pats, how do they respond? How do they respond off this terrible loss to the Bills? I mean, they exploded on the Bills. 21-0. 24-7. And they get beat. How do they respond? They're going to win their division. Going to win their division. The schedule says they're going to win the division. They play the Jets and the Dolphins. They play the Jets on the road and the Dolphins at home to finish the season. They're going to win those 2 games, or they don't deserve to go to the playoffs. Ravens need this game, but whether they get it or not, they still have a chance to be alive in that last week. But they're in a lot better shape if they get this game. I think the Ravens get it at home. Only the Pats have to have it, considering who they play the last 2 games. That would get them to 13 wins. They'll win the division. But if that happens, if the Pats lose to the Ravens, then beat the Jets and the Fish, they go into the playoffs without a lot of confidence. This would be the confidence builder for them. This would be the bounce back game that gets them back their medal before the playoffs. They're not going to get that against the Jets. They're not going to get that against the Dolphins. Then Monday night, the Niners, who have done an incredible job, as good as Seattle has been, as good as the Rams have been, to me, the Niners have been the coaching staff that has put forth the best performance this year. To get to 10-4, considering the injuries, has been nothing short of miraculous. They close. Colts here. Rivers starts. He almost was a hero last week. And then obviously Seattle made the kick. Niners are 10-4. Obviously, 3 teams from the West are going to the playoffs. The Colts are 8-6. They were 8-2. They're 8-6. They're home. Then they play the Jaguars and they play the Texans. Not going to be easy for them to win another game. Not going to be easy. Niner defense is still vulnerable. I think the Colts can win this game. Colts have to win this game, or there's no way they're going to the postseason. No way at all. And there's a good chance they could wind up 8-9 with 7 straight losses. Now, you can forgive them what's going on with all the injuries and everything, but that would be a tough really tough thing for them to deal with. Monday night, the story of Rivers, the story of the Niners, really good, interesting. So you have an interesting Sunday night game with the Pats trying to rebound against the Ravens, who are trying to stay alive. Things circulating about Harbaugh. Then you have the Niners, you have the Colts, and you have the whole Rivers story coming up at that age, coming out of retirement, playing okay, trying to be the hero, and now going up against the Niners on in prime time. From his couch at 44, it's a prime time. It's a terrific story. It really is. It really is. You know, sports can deliver those kind of stories. And it just shows you how limited the supply of quarterbacks is, that you would have to reach into yesterday for a 44-year-old quarterback who's been out of the game for 5 years. A very good quarterback, not a Hall of Famer in my mind, but just under that, a really talented player at the position. No, a guy who was a bona fide starter his whole career, a really good player, Pro Bowl caliber player, put up good numbers. I mean, a very good quarterback. Not a great quarterback, but a very good quarterback. And he steps back in. He's obviously kept himself in shape. We know he's a clean liver. We know he's got plenty of kids and grandkids to keep him busy. And it's an interesting story. It really is. And the Colts are an interesting story. And their owner is an interesting story. All stuff they can deal with on this Monday night. And the Niners are a fascinating story, considering what they've accomplished this year. So there's a lot there. So you got the Saturday games. You got interesting battles as teams try to stay alive. You said goodbye to some teams that, like the Chiefs, who for the first time in a long time, you're going to look out there. There's no Mahomes. Nobody is going to pay one iota. Nobody is going to take one look at Chiefs Titans. Not one look. Only story there is Kelsey getting ready to call it a career, or does he have more football left in him? Will that Sunday night game against Denver, not Sunday night game, Christmas night game, I should say, against Denver, will that be his goodbye to America with his incredibly famous fiancée watching? Is it finally a career? As his quarterback is somewhere on the couch rehabbing his recent surgery, and he is maybe saying goodbye to the world after a brilliant tight end career in Kansas City. So there's a lot going on here in these last couple of weeks of this NFL season. But you know already that this postseason will be different. The first time in a very long time, there was a link where there had been Mahomes or Brady or Manning in the playoffs dating back 25, 27 years. Now that has been broken, as Mahomes will not be in the playoffs this year. And, I know people wanted to see the Chiefs go. And they were like, get rid of the Chiefs. I'm sick of them, blah, blah, blah. Having those big teams to shoot at, I've always felt makes the sport better. Always felt that. So I think before you know it, you'll say, you know what? Hey, I miss the Chiefs a little bit. I think you'll hear that more than once the rest of the season. We'll see you later.